What's up guys, welcome to the vlog. My name is Nanama, and if you haven't subscribed to this beautiful channel, please do so before I continue. I'm waiting. Thank you. And don't forget to hit on the subscription bell so that you get notified whenever I upload a photo. Merci beaucoup. So today I want us to talk about something that I haven't really spoken about before, not to anybody. It's just a thought, not even to my sibling, like my kid sister. Like, we all experience this. So if you know me, you know that I grew up with my grandma. My grandma took care of me and my kid sister and a lot of cousins in a very big home, and so she raised all of us, okay? And I grew up thinking or knowing, this is my story, okay? I grew up thinking that my parents had the perfect marriage, because I remember there was this man who had a telephone, guy knew one. If you grew up in Maprivi, you know him. And so my parents used to call through his landline, and then we all rushed to his hall, very big, and then we received the phone call, and we went in turn. So this one talked to mommy and daddy, this one come and do so. I remember we always went to school with new stuff. Like, we never lacked growing up. Thank you, mom and dad. We never lacked. And they used to send us pictures. I remember watching their wedding video, and it was nice. And we also used to send them pictures, and that was how we grew up. Though they were not present, we could feel their presence, okay? And I had this perfect picture of my parents. It would interest you to know that the first time I saw my dad, I was 12 years. I was in GSS1. That was the first time I saw my daddy. And the first time I saw my mom, it was SS1, I think third term, going on to SS2. That's to give you a fair idea. I didn't grow up with them. I don't have memories of my mom and dad when I was 4 or 5. No, I saw them when I was older. And when I saw them, I realized they loved us very much. But as a young child, I remember the first time I saw my dad, I was washing. I have this, my left hand has stitches. I remember I was washing my dad was standing there, and he was like, oh, you know this thing on your left hand? When it happened, I wasn't here. I'm so sorry. But I was so furious with your mom. I haven't forgiven her. And as a little girl, this thing stuck with me. I haven't forgiven her. And I didn't tell anybody. I mean, it was just one of those things. But I'm that one person that I kind of keep key things in mind, you know. The first time I had the opportunity or the privilege, I call it a privilege because it was big for me. My kid sister couldn't experience that. The first time I met my mom and dad, or I was with them in the same room, was when I was 20 something. I think I was in level 300. And let me tell you what happened. So my dad came to Ghana, and he was leaving that day, and my mom was coming from London that day. And I said to myself that I wish something would happen to my dad's flight so that the flight would be cancelled. Like, I just said it to myself so that I would get the opportunity to, you know, be with both of them, at least spend the night with them and get to know them better. And I remember my auntie Tony, she's so sweet. Auntie Tony and myself, we took my dad to the airport, and that day would also pick my mom up. And when we got my dad's flight, it said the weather something and glory. That flight was cancelled. And so I was like, oh, God has answered my prayer. And so I remember vividly when my mom was coming out. My dad's flight has been cancelled here, so he was with us, with my auntie and myself. And when he saw my mom coming, he went, he hugged her. I mean, we were all happy, and I was like, ooh, yay, look at somebody with mommy and daddy, yay. I was really happy. I couldn't wait to tell her Rama about it. So we went home. But on the way I realized that the excitement that I had was different from what those two had, and I began to wonder what was happening. But I mean, hey, it's like maybe he's tensed, his flight was cancelled, maybe she's tired, she had a long flight, you know. But when we got home, they didn't talk much, and I left them to go to my room because I was tired too. But my dad had to leave very early in the morning, and I remember when he was leaving. When he was leaving, my mom tried to hug him. I mean, the hug was awkward, and I remember her saying, "I love you," and he didn't say anything. Then he told me that he loves me, and he didn't respond to her. And that was, I didn't understand, you know, I didn't understand. And so I let it slide, but I didn't let it slide. Early in the morning, I went to my mom's room and I was like, that was a bit awkward. What was that? Then, you know, mother, she was like, oh, nothing. I think he didn't hear me. But I knew she was lying. And then she said that when you grow up, you will understand. And like, okay. So, well, I was still in the moment. I called my thesis. I said, hey, I was with mom and dad at the same place, like, you know, and it felt good. She was like, how does it feel like? You know, because she hadn't experienced that, and it felt good. So fast forward, I went back to school after a year. I was there one day. My mom called me and she's like, I have to tell you something. Your dad and I are no more there, and I'll explain later. And it was a blow to me. And I called my dad. I asked him, "Are you okay?" And he said all sorts of things. You know, he said all sorts of things, and I can't share because I don't want to put his life here. You know. He said all sorts of things. So your mom did this, your mom did that, and I didn't come to this world because of your mom, and it was because of you kids that we were together. Now you guys are grown up, you figure things out, so it's over. It's like, just like that, you know. I was hurt. I was like, I had the perfect picture of mom and dad, and all of a sudden, mommy's telling me it's over. Daddy's saying a lot of things that I cannot comprehend, and so, I mean, what's happening? So I realized it was serious when my mom told me that there's the court is involved, there are restriction orders. So, I mean, what's going on? And so that's how it happened. And it was really sad, you know, because I grew up thinking that I had the perfect parents, like they were there every time. It still hurts that they are no more. And there were nights that I would cry because I couldn't bring myself to, I still haven't like come to terms with it, but it was really hard in the beginning because I was like, I have this perfect picture. How does it collapse in 1 second? You know, it's not fair. And none of them really took their time to say we are sorry, and to think that they were together because of us. I mean, that was a sacrifice, but well, who am I to judge them? And so I was in pain, like a lot of pain. I remember I'm trying not to tear up. I remember I had sleepless nights, and it was really painful. And for once, there were days that I thought that was my fault, because I remember when my dad saw this thing, he was like, I haven't forgiven your mom. And so I was like, is it because of me? You know, I used to blame myself for them, and it was really hard because I couldn't even tell anybody about it. I felt it's I felt that it was a disgrace to talk about it, and so I bottled it all up in me, and I I asked God why, what's up? I mean, why can't I have the perfect parents? Why can't I have what everybody has? And my boyfriend at the time, his parents were like this, and I used to go to his house a lot and seeing the way his mom and dad relate. That's what I thought my parents were, but I realized they weren't, and so I used to have all sorts of crazy thoughts. So I realized that I started isolating myself from a lot of people. I just go to class and come back, because sometimes this one will call you and say this one will call you and say that, and you're lost in your thoughts. You don't know what to do. And so I remember I opened up to my boyfriend at the time, and he really helped. He was like, you shouldn't blame yourself with these things. They are adults, it happens, blah blah blah. And so he helped me through that stage. It was quite depressing, because I remember isolating myself and not speaking to anybody. I was depressed. I wasn't eating. I've not told anybody this before, but he knows. And he was there. He was really there for me, and he told me through it. Though I still haven't come to terms with it. Both parties have moved on, but I still haven't come to terms with it. It still hurts. What I did next was, this man really helped, Bishop Dag. So I was listening to Sweet Melodies one night, and Bishop Dag was preaching as if it was for me, and then he was talking about how when parents separate, the children try to get involved and support this one, support this one. He was talking about it, and he was like, do not blame anybody and do not choose sides, and know that the Bible still says that honor your mother and father in the Lord, blah 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 blah. So don't disrespect any of them because of what is happening and all that. And so that really helped. So I tried as much as possible not to side with any of them, though hearing both sides, the temptation was there. Trust me, the temptation to side with one person will be there. But upon listening to the man of God, I began to tell myself, I talk to myself a lot. If you know me, I talk to myself a lot. I have staff meetings. So I sat me down and I told myself that, you know what, you were not there when they were proposing to each other. If they decided to break away, don't be involved. And so that's how I dealt with it. I decided not to be involved in it and to love each of them. Though sometimes loving one party is hard, I still love him, because he makes it difficult sometimes, and I have issues with both of them, but I mean, they are my parents, and so yeah, I try not to choose sides. And the next thing I did was to pray about it, and it really helps. When you talk to the Holy Spirit about it, it really calms you down. And also to forgive them and forgive me, because at a point in time I thought it was me. Then I realized, no, I have to forgive both of them for doing this to us, and they have their independent lives to live, and I cannot hold any grudges against them. But it's still affecting me in a way. When I've learned a lot from their stories. They've not sat me down to tell me what happened, but from this side and this side, I've learned a lot that the thing that they say that whatever will break the marriage is right there in the beginning, staring at you, chick, my brother. It's so true. I mean, from their stories, it's so true. And so once immediately I start detecting a red flag from a relationship, I move away. Sometimes I break relationships. I've broken people's hearts, I know, and they don't know why. That's because there are things that I've learned about my parents, and I see you manifesting that same thing. I walk away, and in a way it's affecting me, because I sit down to think, sometimes people are good, they have little flaws, but when I see that little flaw, then I run away. But I'm working on myself. Don't take sides. If you're going through the same thing, try as much as possible not to take sides, and trust God to take you through all of these things. and stop thinking negative, be positive. Stop thinking that your parents' marriage failed so yours will fail. This is to myself too, okay? So there's no formula in dealing with divorce of your parents. I mean, there's no formula. Everybody has a different way of handling their stuff, but hey, trust me, with God we'll all sail through. I mean, I haven't gotten over it, as I said earlier, but I'm fine. Sometimes I even forget they exist. Forgive me, but I'm just living my life because I came to realize that we all have different lives and each for himself, God for us all. So that's all I have for you. This is how I dealt with my parents' divorce. I'll see you in my next vlog. Don't forget to share and subscribe. And yeah, I love you all. See you. Bye. Bye.